So if your family didn't give you nothing, hey, you know the deal, you got to run the first leg. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop being discouraged. Stop making excuses and wake up in the morning and start running like a track athlete. Run as hard as you can, as fast as you can, because you got a son and one day you got to yell stick and he going to brag about his daddy. Can I ask you a question? What are you doing right now? You've been doing it the same way for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. It's not getting you your results. It's not getting you where you want to be, but you're unwilling to recalibrate. Jerry Sloan called me over. I said, hey, coach, how can I help you, man? Check with the trainer. He has your plane ticket. We're going in a different direction. Check with the trainer. He has your plane ticket. We're going in a different direction. It took me 15 years to become. And since I didn't recalibrate, my NBA career was over in 5 seconds. Let's count it together. Hey, Walter, check with the trainer. He has your plane ticket. We're going in a different direction. That's 5 seconds. It took me 15 years to become. It was over in 5 years. We all know it takes a long time to build, but it takes no time to destroy. It takes a long time to build. It takes no time to destroy. I want you to understand, you're not just working for money. You're building a legacy. So every year, I want you to understand, you're not just working for money. You're building a legacy. So if you're building a legacy, the most important thing you got to do is recalibrate. Why? Because you're building. If you ever see a house built, they go in phases and stages. The first thing they do is lay the foundation. You ever notice that? They don't lay the roof. They don't wire it. They don't frame it. The first thing they do, they lay the foundation. Because if that foundation ain't right, the house ain't going to stand. The foundation doesn't pass the inspection. Your city going to shut you down. Say, no. You can't go to the next phase. Why? Because your foundation ain't right. Can I ask you a question? In your career, is your foundation right? You want to be a singer, but is your foundation right? You want to launch a band, but is your foundation right? You want to be an entrepreneur, but is your foundation right? You want to get promoted, but is your foundation right? The first thing you have to do is understand we're not just making money. We're building a foundation. We're building a legacy that you can hand to the next generation. I go to track meets all the time, and I love the 4x1 relay. Let me tell you something about legacy. You should be able to have that baton in your hand and run as hard enough, as fast as enough, and as you get tired, as you age, as you get old, you've done such a great job recalibrating. You've been such a great job of building. All you got to do is yell stick, and you hand it to your son. Yell stick, you hand it to your daughter. Yell stick, you hand it to the next generation. Yell stick, you hand it to a board. When you really build something of substance, it will last for generations to come. If you've not built a legacy, it's going to die with you. What I'm working on right now is no longer about income. Been there, done that. Now we're building legacies, and we're on this YouTube channel to empower you to build your legacy. So when you leave this earth and the good Lord calls you home, all you're going to do is say, stick, here's $1 million. Stick, here's $5 million. Stick, here's 10 million. Not only am I going to give you 10 million, I'm going to build you a culture. Not only am I going to give you 10 million, I'm going to build some relationships. Not only am I going to give you some money, I'm going to give you respect. I'm going to give you a name. And when I leave this earth, son, when I leave this earth, daughter, all you got to do is grab the baton in your hand and run the same way I ran. You might even run a little faster. But one thing I love about a 4x1 relay race, you got to stay in your lane. If you don't stay in your lane, you get disqualified. And if you drop the baton, you're disqualified. Well, you know, Walter, I don't really come from that kind of family, man. There ain't nobody give me nothing. Let me tell you something. We got a lot of people like that. I live in a neighborhood with a lot of people like that. Came from nothing, now they're millionaires. Came from nothing, now they're multi-millionaires. Came from absolutely nothing. And I have neighbors in my neighborhood who are multi-billionaires, and they built their business by themselves. Let me be clear. The next time you see a 4x1 relay race, somebody got to run the first leg. We get caught up on the anchor. Oh, here comes Usain Bolt. We get caught up on the anchor. Here comes Flojo. We get caught up on the anchor. Here comes Carl Lewis. It's pretty sitting running around that track, but don't you ever forget, somebody got to run the first leg. So if your family didn't give you nothing, hey, you know the deal, you got to run the first leg. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop being discouraged. Stop making excuses and wake up in the morning and start running like a track athlete. Run as hard as you can, as fast as you can, because you got a son and one day you got to yell stick And he gonna brag about his daddy. One day you're gonna wake up, you're gonna yell stick, hand it to your daughters. They're gonna brag about the daddy. And they're gonna realize, man, my daddy built a business. My mama built a business. My daddy, my mama, my daddy. And before you know it, they'll be talking about grandmama and granddaddy and grandmama and granddaddy. Then before you know it, it's gonna be great grandmama and great granddaddy. And all of a sudden, you're gonna have a grandchild named Michael Jordan. All of a sudden, you might have a grandchild named LeBron James. All of a sudden, you might have something coming down your lineage. But if you're not willing to build, you're not going to have a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I came to give you a millionaire mindset. It's one thing to have the faith of God, to believe in prosperity. Whole nother ball game to be willing to do the work that is required from God. I want to come to you live every single week, and we're going to talk about the faith that's required. But most importantly, we're going to talk about the work. 15 years is what it took me to become elite in the NBA industry. And some of you guys are saying, well, Walter Bond, I never heard of him. I know I wasn't a superstar, but I made it. I know I wasn't a superstar, but I got in that locker room and I got a chance to wear the jersey. I didn't stay as long as I wanted to stay. But one thing I learned was how to get there. But through mistakes, I also learned how to stay. Throughout your life, you're always learning what to do, and you're always learning what not to do. Well, listen, man, I'm going to open up some Q&A right now and ask some others here. You know, if you have any questions about our message today or anything you want to share with me, I would like to know your strategy of what it's going to take you to be a millionaire. We talked about strategy. I would like to hear your strategy, Wesley. I'd like to hear your strategy. Newberry, I'd like to hear your strategy, because faith is one thing, but works is another thing. What is your strategy to make at least $2,500 a day? If you break it down per day, being a millionaire ain't that really hard. Because let me tell you something. In the world of abundance, you can get $2,500 a day legally. If you agree with me, raise your hand and say yes. If you believe there's enough faith out here for you to get $2,500 a day, raise your hand and say yes. If you're willing to do the work that is required of you to get $2,500 a day minimum, that's all it is, to average $2,500 a day. If you're willing to discover your gift to get it, say yes. If you're willing to position your gift, raise your hand and say yes. If you're willing to develop your gift that God gave you, because that man of God came to that home and gave her instructions. Once he identified the oil, he gave her instructions, go get as many buckets as you can. She could have said, no, I don't take all that, I'm good. She wouldn't have got the blessing, am I right or wrong? The good thing is that she listened to the man of God. He said, go get every bucket that you can get and fill it up with your gift. Fill it up with your talent. Fill it up with your resources. Fill it up with your opportunity. And I promise you, when we get done with you, not only will you have enough to pay your debt, there'll be enough left over for you to live good the rest of your life. The Lord delights in the prosperity of his servant. The Lord delights in the prosperity of his servant. The Lord delights in the prosperity of his servant. And let me tell you something. You shouldn't have to tell people you're blessed. They should just look at you and say, my. He's blessed. my. She's blessed. What do you think happened when Abraham walked through town? Abraham had all his donkeys and all his camels and all his ewes and all his llamas and all his handmaids and all his children and all his camels. And he didn't have to tell them how he knew God. They knew he was blessed. Why? Because they could just see it. If we have the faith of God, if we're willing to put in the works of God, God will touch that thing in such a way that your family will see it and say, my, that boy is blessed. Your friends will see it and say, my, that girl is blessed. Strangers will see you when you walk into a room. And they'll say, man, who is that? Who is she? I don't know, but he must be somebody. I don't know, but she must be somebody. Let's discover our gift. Let's develop our gift. Let's position our gift. And every year, let's take an off season and recalibrate. And I'm telling you, if you come and connect with us, we're going to teach you the mindset, and we're going to teach you the works that is required to become elite. My wife and I have experienced this in two totally different industries. We experienced this in the NBA, and we've experienced this in the business world. And right now we go around the world because we know these two worlds collide. And I'm telling you, as these worlds collide, you're going to be competitive. But most importantly, I want you to compete and win. God bless you today. Thank you for tuning in to the Millionaire Hour. God bless you and see you soon.